Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to another live PT Business Coaches webinar. Why every career personal trainer should be earning 100,000 plus per year easily. Very quickly, I'm Frank Smorelli, one of the co-founders of PT Business Coaches, now the world's leading business educators for personal trainers. I'm super excited about today's business training webinar because I'm going to be sharing with you the secret ingredient you must have to earn more money in the fitness industry. Like most of our PT Business Coaches webinars, I'll deliver great content for about 30 or 40 minutes, then I'll do live Q&A for the remainder of our time together. Before we actually move on, can you please click on the little red icon with the arrow to the top right of your screen, and it opens up to a chat box. This is where you want to ask questions at the... Give me a second. So you want to ask questions, yada, yada, yada. Okay, very quickly, I have a special gift for all the attendees today on this webinar. Very quickly, I have a special gift for all attendees on this webinar that stay until the very end. You'll receive directly into your inbox 2 coach training videos. Number 1, Become a Jedi Marketer. Here I take you through the 5 key fundamental marketing laws to generate leads into your PT business faster. This has been taken straight out of our PT Business Accelerator program, so please don't share it with anyone. Training video number 2, how to double your boot camps and transformation challenge numbers. Again, this is from our Business Accelerator program, and I share with you the exact systems I share with you the exact systems to get your short-term program sold out without spending more money on marketing. So both these business training videos are yours when you stay to the end of the webinar, which will be live Q&A. Okay, before I launch into the main content of this live webinar, I'd like to share a little about my journey from really poor personal trainer to international PT coach and mentor. I've been actively involved in the fitness industry since the very early 90s, first as a personal trainer, then as a personal training studio owner, including being a multiple club owner. When I first started working as a personal trainer here in Melbourne, Australia, things were a little bit different in 1992. Personal training was not mainstream in this country. In fact, it wasn't mainstream at all. My dad couldn't believe that I wanted to do this as a career after studying business marketing at university for 3 years. Now, I really struggled and bumbled my way through to 1995, earning about $200 per week, working out of 3 different health clubs here in Melbourne, Australia. And then in 1996, one of my best buddies spoke to me about opening up our very own PT studio in the very affluent suburb of Brighton. And I jumped at the opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity to be had at 25. So on May 26, 1996, we opened up a personal training studio here in Melbourne, Australia. But this wasn't just any PT studio. This was the largest personal training studio in the country. It was actually set up like a fully equipped health club. It was actually set up like a fully equipped health club. Now, owning and operating the largest personal training business in Australia sounded much sexier than what I actually was. Those first few years were the toughest I've ever experienced in business. It was a real struggle. In fact, it was a massive struggle. Hardly any leads, no idea about sales, and I didn't have a clue about accounts or how to actually run a business with increasing overheads and bills that we finally couldn't pay. The rent had caught up with us, and I had to ask my father for more money to help us out, just to keep the doors open. Not a great start for an aspiring personal trainer or business person. I remember the cornerstone of my meals back then were eggs and tuna because that's all I could afford to eat. And no, I wasn't a competitive bodybuilder. I had no money and lots of debt, not to mention huge responsibilities, all at the age of 25. I know what it's like trying to build a client base. I know what it's like trying to build a personal training business from the ground up. And I know what it's like being in the trenches, getting up at 5 o'clock every morning and getting home at 9 o'clock completely and utterly exhausted. I was working my butt off, working 80 hours per week and only earning $50 per week. If you work that out, that's a little over 60 cents per hour. That's how well I was going back in the mid-90s. Things were really tough. You may be able to relate, working hard and still struggling to pay bills and actually get ahead. I was constantly stressed, frustrated, and pulling my hair out every day. It's probably one of the reasons why I haven't got hair now. Then at the end of 1998, something happened that changed the way I viewed not only my business, but business in general. One of my personal trainers, Emma, introduced me to a business coach that I ended up working with for about 12 months. It literally changed my entire destiny. It's one of the reasons why I do what I do today. Coach and mentor fitness professionals from all parts of the globe. My coach and mentor taught me about business models, customer service, lead generation, sales, client retention, and the most important and client retention and the importance of business system. It was like doing a PhD in small business. My coach taught me about blue sky thinking to understand where my business was currently at and then to visualize what I wanted to achieve in the future. Blue sky thinking is when you imagine that all things are possible for you and your business, just like looking into a clear blue sky with no limits. You project forward several years and you imagine that your PT business is not only surviving but thriving. You look back to where you are today and you ask yourself this question: what would have to happen? What would have to have happened? What would have to have happened? What would have to have happened for me to have created a powerful and highly profitable personal training business? Then you come back to where you are now in the present in your own mind, and then you ask, what would have to have happened from this point forward? What would have to have happened from this point forward for me to achieve all my business goals in the future? And this brings me to a very interesting point about mindset and business success. I often meet and speak to personal trainers that have a block about earning enough or more money than they currently are. Recently, I spoke to two personal trainers in Adelaide about our 12-month Business Accelerator program. And after a long discussion, they simply said, Frank, we cannot afford the $49 per week for the program. My immediate response was, if they don't think that they can generate one, my immediate response was that if they didn't think that they could generate one extra 30-minute session per week to pay for the program, then they had to do a lot of work on their mindset. A mindset based on I can't, or this is too hard, or I won't be able to do that, already puts you at a disadvantage in terms of true growth of your personal training business. Additionally, if PTs are not upskilling themselves in this digital marketing world that we live in, then they're making it harder for themselves to succeed. So it isn't actually, it's not, it's, it is, so it isn't necessarily a lack of marketing that stops trainers from earning more money and building a more successful personal training business. Although marketing and more specifically lead generation strategies is what brings prospects into your business. So yes, it is important. The lack of sales knowledge is also important. The lack of sales knowledge is also very important. Yet it's not a lack of sales knowledge. And the sometimes forgotten art of customer retention is very important, especially now there are so many personal trainers operating in the marketplace. Still, it's not the number one factor that stops and hinders personal trainers from building and making more money every single month. Please understand you have to have know-how when it comes to your business marketing, sales, and client retention. After all, these are the three key pillars to growing a more successful personal training business. Having said that, the number one thing that stops personal trainers from creating more wealth in their PT business is, quite simply, their mindset.